LOCKBEARD PHENOMENA number 52, Coyote Peterson Skull. It's July 9th, 2022, Saturday, 6 p.m. Welcome, y'all. See who's in chat. We got Joe, looks like was the first one. He says, well, Coyote accomplished his goal, which I believe was to get everyone talking about this. Welcome, and welcome to Mr. Lee and Gary and Mark Dodman and Angel Nolan. Welcome to everybody. Sandra Piper. Mr. Lee says, so a Bigfoot skull has been found in Canada? Well, no. There's no. This is really an underwhelming thing. It's just funny to see the reaction. You know how Pat and Joe were talking about on Joe's channel just a while ago. You know how easy it is to blow up the Bigfoot community. But I had to say something about it, especially once you see the actual video. See, Mr. Lee says, Mark, did you watch Cowboys video? Fantastic. Yeah, everybody go check out the Squatchy Cowboys music video. Mark Thomas says, I sure did. All I can say is as a singer, he's a fine Sasquatch hunter. Sanders says, no Bigfoot skull was found. It was a gorilla skull. And as many have pointed out, getting a hold of an actual gorilla skull, yeah. If you're going to order a gorilla skull, you're ordering a reproduction. Pretty much end of story. Like you're probably gonna have some kind of connections and probably some kind of permit and all kinds of hoops to jump through. A gorilla skull is just not something anyone can possess. Which is number one issue. Number two is that even though some gorillas have been accidentally released, according to some reports or claims, even with that being the case, the chances of someone finding one of those very few in the woods is just so ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. So hopefully no one. Well, I'm sure some people were falling for it. I mean, obviously some people were falling for it, but it's a singer, not a song. Says Mr. Lee. Thing looks plastic, especially the teeth. Yeah, because it was most certainly a reproduction, but I don't think everybody should get bent out of shape about it, and I'll tell you why here in a little bit. Good gosh, the dang chat's doing its funky thing. Joe says cooking dinners, but lurking. I'm glad Joe's here because I wasn't liking something that was said the other day about Joe, and I'm going to address that here in a little while. Because it was just it was kind of ridiculous, and I'm like, what the hell? Sanders says it was a publicity stunt. Yeah, well, sort of, and yep, kind of. What you cooking, Joe? Amber alert on Mr. Lee. Shrimp with penny pasta, says Joe. Donald's here. Welcome. Bustamonte's here. Garlic bread, says Joe's making some garlic bread too. It's gonna make some people hungry. Uncle Bones is here. Welcome. Donald's eating some bread pudding. Mark Dodman, welcome. Sharon Guy, welcome. Angel Nolan, welcome. I thought I might have said said welcome to you earlier. Yeah, Joe says a fake gorilla skull was found, Mr. Lee, but it actually wasn't. Yeah, he's got quotes around it. Found. It wasn't found. Wasn't found. Sarah Guy says, Uncle, hey, hello, good to see you. Guy gets on my nerves with his poncho. Says Mr. Lee. Mr. Hughes here, welcome. The singing Sasquatch cowboy, yep. Oh my gosh, this jumpy chat thing is gonna be a pain. Jen's here, welcome. Squatch Talk's here. It was good to see 90% of people calling BS on it for once, though. Well, hopefully they went and saw his channel. Once you see it, it should be game over. Actually, I picked a video from 2020, which is a prime example, and this thing is he wasn't remotely trying to hoax or claim anything. Shirley says a Sasquatch portal blasted by lightning, sucked into another dimension. Be real. Sounds like Mr. Lee might have watched the video. Yep, Pat's here. Mr. Lee says Pat's here. Joe says, what? Who said something about me? Was it funny? I'm always up for a good laugh, even at my expense. Well, do we want to talk about that first? I don't know. I'm probably making a bigger deal out of it than I need to. It's just when something's said that's just demonstrably untrue. I kind of got to go after Grasshoppers here. Donald wants Donald wants his intro. Representation of his life. Hopefully it's not that bad. A professional educator, someone call it. He's like Steve Irwin, only like worse in some of the goofy stuff he does. And like he has a lot of videos where he'll sit there and like let things bite him and sting him and stuff to compare them. It's pretty ridiculous. I mean, but you'll see here in a second. Afternoon. So yes, he is. It is educational, but you also have to understand he's a comedian. He's doing it. It's a funny thing. It's not meant to be taken seriously. Like you gotta, some of the stuff you gotta know. Okay, this is the joke part. Grasshopper says, "Can't believe that skull is an actual issue." I mean, I don't think it's an issue at all. The guy is clearly entertainment. He isn't hiding the fact that he's entertainment. The post on Facebook was just, it was clickbaity, yeah. But oh, they didn't say it. They didn't say it about you, Pat. It was about Joe. Mr. Lee says bear skull. That could be a Sasquatch skull. Yeah, but don't get too upset about it, Mr. Lee. He's strictly entertainment. The whole thing was entertainment. It wasn't even trying to actually, truly like lie about anything there. BPD says you can't just tease the shit talk about Joe. Okay, well, ancient four. I guess we can hit on. Let me play what I got linked up here first, and then we'll talk about that, and then we'll go to the skull. Sandra says, "Look, like Lockbeard, I think you're right about the whole thing. Thanks. Yeah, don't be upset, Mr. Lee. It's just entertainment. He really is. He's just like Peter Kane, only like more educational, and probably not an asshole in live streams." Joe says, "Not an issue. Yes, just clickbait. I recognize it for what it was and dismissed it. Yeah, it's not an issue at all. He's not an actual hoaxer. He's not stealing money from people to actually perpetrate a hoax. He's not even good entertainment, dude. Sad and desperate to me." Sharon Guy says, "Lockbeard, I looked at on his channel, didn't see anything about the skull. Wonder if he took it down." Well, it's there. It's there. Issue being is taking the Bigfoot sites by storm when it means nothing. Which is funny. Like, we could point at people and say, "Well, you just jumped right on this. Maybe you shouldn't jump on stuff so quick." It was just a joke. Issue being talking about the Bigfoot sites. Storm means nothing. Pat, finally we agree on something, says Mr. Lee. Something Sasquatch Pal says he is, and he has a lot of children who watch, so he performs. Yeah. It does. A lot of it seems like it's almost geared towards kids, and it's so yeah. Mr. Lee says, "Sharon, no, it's still there. The Bigfoot skull found in Canada. We'll see a part of it here in a second." Now, first, like the Georgia Guidestones, okay, they demolished the site like really quickly, and I'm glad Bright Insight brought that up, because that does, someone planted an explosive, and then it's 9/11 all over again, right? Bunch of evidence just getting carted off. Not that kind of scale, but still. So we'll just look at a little bit of what he has to say here.
Hours after the detonation of an
Oops.
Well, there's way more to this story. So let me get this straight. Less than 12 hours after the detonation of an IED on the Georgia Guidestones, they demolished and cleared the whole thing for safety reasons. So instead of just roping off the area and conducting a thorough and full forensic investigation of an exploded device, I mean, I was deployed in Iraq, and when IEDs go off, I mean, you remember the term IED, improvised explosive device? When something that goes off, people come out and they try to collect as much evidence as they can. You can even collect DNA from the bomb maker themselves and try to locate, where this originated from. You can even find out, what the explosive type was, so you can further investigate to see where that came from as well. So when I saw on this site, which is unbelievably bizarre as it is, and let me just say, if you don't know what the Georgia Guidestones are, get ready to be creeped out, because it's actually surprising just how many people have never seen or heard of these things before. And if you're not familiar, I will fill you in. So first of all, let's be clear. This was created in 1980, and the people, whoever they were that financed this, are still a mystery.
All right, so there's no point in watching more. Like, the main point is how quickly they demolished it and carted it off, and so what's the deal there? Why they cleaning it up so quickly? But here's, a lot of people are like celebrating. Like, look, if someone tears down your monument or your statue that you like, you're going to complain, right? A lot of the people complaining that they're celebrating this complained about some other monument being torn down before. Like, look, the rule should be everybody, right? All monuments. You don't just destroy monuments. You just don't do it. If it points to something negative in history that people don't like, fine. It's a reminder. tearing down Civil War monuments, for example, that, you're helping to make sure that people forget history and repeat it. That's what you're doing. This, whatever it is, should not have been torn. I think they should have gone ahead and just, later on he talks about it, rope it off, study it, maybe secure it so it can't be torn down anymore, and people can still view the site safely. If you maybe they have to shore up the pieces or whatever, but it's a slippery slope. People are quick to violate the liberties of others, even when they're complaining that their liberty is getting violated. Liberty is all or nothing. That's what it should be. But it seems like both sides want to steal the liberty of someone else and then bitch about it when their liberty is attacked. No, I'm not going to celebrate the destruction of the Georgia Guidestones. For one, nobody really knows. You don't really know that this is evil. It could be just what someone's idea, what things could be, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Destroying monuments is bad. So, bright insight. That's Jimmy. Covers ancient civilizations. A lot of good stuff on his channel. You bet it was Sean who was talking shit about you. Didn't even click on the video. It wasn't worth my time, says Grasshopper. Well, you'll see the important part here in a second. Squatch shots. I don't know who the guy is. Don't know who the guy is. Don't care, except he shows how easy it is to blow up the Bigfoot world. Yeah. Do people really believe this? I guess some people were jumping on it, but sad how people believe this. Yeah, Mr. Lee knows what I'm talking about. It was like wrestling. The writer says Ted Turner. I haven't seen anyone prove that conclusively, but that's been suggested. Only has animals on his show. Oh, I do? Brian Chewy, welcome, by the way. Yeah, I don't know if I've seen where anyone's actually proven that, but that's what they say. Donald, so wasn't it some left-wing church group who erected it? Oh, Jimmy mentions them. I forget the name right now, but yeah, some kind of thing. Wonder if it was a missile from the ground level that hit it. I don't know. It was like an IED or something. Could be Joe. Did you see the Mountain Beast Mysteries UFO? Well, man, no, I don't. Man, there's so much shit to keep up with, Mr. Like, and Jesus Christ, sometimes like I stopped into Dark Hour Paranormal the other day. Holy shit, dude. He was eating up some complete bullshit from his guests about, God damn it, like how like this is all a game and you got to pay the alliance. You got to pay the Galactic Alliance or whatever she fucking calls it to participate in the game, and you can do this or that. You can just kill a bunch of people or whatever. It was just the ridiculousness and all the alien. I mean, good God, it was crazy. Dark Hour Paranormal, I guess, is just so far off the deep end of woo that it's just fucking sad. Holy shit, dude. Squatchalk says the person that did it broke the law, period, regardless of anyone's opinions of the Guidestones themselves. Yeah, exactly. Donald says they said 5 pounds of tenor, but I think that's fooey. Takes more than 5 pounds. Hugh says there's a video of some dude running up and leaving something and running away. Hey, not because his steak on the pit. Jay's not here because he got steak on the pit. Brandy's here. Welcome. Hey, DHP is a good dude. Well, he was eating up some complete, absolutely ridiculous bullshit the other night. I'm just saying. He might be a nice guy. But holy shit, dude. 5 pounds, it was a lot, especially if well placed. BPT, welcome. Mr. Lee says Lockbeard Mountain Beast Mysteries video of UFO only 1 something minute long. Man, you have time. Maybe we could check it out. Or well, I mean, everybody should just go look at it on this channel, because I mean, if it's just a 1 minute video, I'd hate to show, because basically I'd end up showing his entire video. It's one thing to show a clip, it's another thing to show someone's entire video. So everybody can go over there and check it out. But Brandy says he's a good ass host and asks great questions. Doesn't mean he's eating it up. He looked like he was eating it up to me. I forget the lady's name, but she talked about the Galactic Alliance, and you got to pay them to participate in the game. Earth is like a game or some bullshit. I don't know. I didn't watch the whole show. I couldn't. The bit I caught was just painful. I mean, holy shit. So I guess. All right. Let me bring up this, and so everybody can see, so they don't have to go try and find it themselves. It can be. So sometime back, Ben T went on Joe's channel, and so anyway, later on, this is on one of my. It was on. I don't remember which one. Number 77. Lockbeard Random Live number 77. Freedom. Where Ben T commented this. He said, "Joe called me a liar. He can tell you the same." And I'm like, what does that? What does that mean? So, let's scroll down here in the chat. He said, he says again, Ben T says, Joe and his buddy Steve called me a liar and shut me down. And he's responding to something I said there, something else. But then he says, what kind of lie detector? Whoops. Why won't this go up? What kind of lie detector do Joe and Steve use? Which I don't know what he's talking about there. And then he says, Joe and Steve crawl. I'll link it to you. All right. So let me see if I can. Oops. Get over to the comments here. And you see, I don't think I played any of it, but this is from that show, and this is the earlier part of the show where Molly and Joe and Jay Fritz on there. Steve Coles comes in at some point in the early half of the show for like 5 minutes just to say hi and what's up, and nothing was said about Ben T. Ben T's not on screen yet. Ben T gets on screen later, in the later half of the show. So he sends me, he said, here's his comment below. He sends me the link to that show, and he says it's on the tail end of the show. This was my first time on camera chat. It takes some getting used to on the video section. He also had another links elsewhere for the WTF. Anyway, so I'm trying to talk to him about it. He says Steve Coles isn't on the video. It was altered. Steve Coles isn't on the video. It was altered. I'm going to let this one lie and walk away. Well, no. Now he's saying, not only is he saying, Joe, I called him a liar, and he's saying that he talked to Steve Coles. When if you rewatch the show, Steve Coles never talked to Ben T on the show. And then he says that part's been altered, that somehow Joe's trying to cover up. I'm going to let this one lie and walk away. What do you talk about? Steve Coles isn't on the video. It was altered. It was not altered. It's 2.5 hours of show. And then he says, I've only been on that show once. Okay, so we know we got the right show, right? Because I was kind of thinking maybe he's thinking about some other show where it wasn't Joe. It was on someone else's show and Joe was there. But he's saying he's only been on the show once. So I guess he's talking about this. He says it makes it easy to keep track of what happened that way. It was my first time doing the video chat thing. If I seem like a noob, I'm going back to walk away. And so I'm keeping it going because I'm like, this isn't adding up at all. I'm looking at the damn thing. The only people that talk to him is Jay Fritz and Joe. There was no Steve Krulls, as he put it. He says here, Steve Krulls was the guy I talked to. Why was his name misspelled? Well, for one, his name was not misspelled when he was on screen, but it was only 5 minutes. It was the early half of the show before Ben, and you're the one misspelling his name. There's no R in it, Ben. So I don't know. And then he says, ask him. The exchange didn't seem to go their way after accusing me of lying. I took the initiative from them and made them look less than favorable. I didn't use foul language of any kind. The end part was cut off. They know what really happened, and that's good enough for me. By the way, it stinks like they're using a voice stress analyzer. They don't work properly on people reliving stressful events. Be aware. What in the hell is he talking about? Okay, so I guess I got to get back in here and see what's going on in the chat. Hopefully there's not a lot. Donald says, Squatch Talk we used to shoot a Tannerite, lots of sound, but not much force. Brandy says, that's some Lilo and Stitch shit, but DHP is cool. Squatch Talk says, I'm sure it was Tannerite and would be no way to know how much was used. Pat says to Donald, Tannerite has tons of force. Literally, go watch FPS Russian video. BPD 1976 says I didn't do that for sure. Didn't do what? I'm not into besmirchment. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Sharon says something to Sasquatch about. Hello, sorry I missed you. Donald says, Squatch Talk, I'm just saying 5 pounds isn't enough. Ben T is not me. Who said it was you? Nobody. I didn't see anybody say it was you. Brandy says, we know that, Ben. I hope everybody does anyway. All right. Joe's like, wow. Did you? I guess you did. So, yeah. So I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? Well, y'all are using a voice stress analyzer. Like, this don't even sound like in character. Like, if someone's on your show, like, you're not going to be, like, you're not going to be, like, tearing them down. You're going to be like, you're going to say something like, who am I to tell you what you saw? And if you watch what was actually said, I don't see any part where, there was some disagreement about something, but it was all in good natured and there wasn't any problem there. So I don't know. When he said that, he's like, Joe just called me a liar, and I just kept on trying to get him to tell me what in the hell are you talking about. And he's saying part of the show's cut off, and I'm like, well, can you prove that? Because I don't see where any part of the show's cut out. I certainly don't remember that happening at the time. It doesn't sound in character for Joe or Jay, for that matter. And he seemed to think he was talking to to Joe and Steve calls. So either he's got his wires so crossed it's crazy, or I don't know. This voice stress analyzer thing, what the hell is that? It's crazy. How much? Nobody know how much was used after the fact. Yeah, it might be hard to figure that out. Brandy says, "How is Hyblis be doing?" Oh shoot! The chat jumped on me. Brandy says, "Lockbeard sometimes just crack me the fuck up." Which part? Yeah, wake the fuck up. Brandy says, "Hugh, he's doing really good actually." Why the fascination? Hello, Michael. Welcome. Welcome. Yeah, you're talking about how you have a cheap recorder, and he's talking about how you got him on a voice stress analyzer and some crazy shit, and you trimmed out part of the show. That no, I mean, of course, Ben T. I was, you hate to say it's a red flag for someone to come out just right out the gate. Yeah, I've seen him lots of times. Well, that's the story he tells. He's seen them lots of times. That's already a red flag because, I hate to say it, definitely is, but it kind of is. It kind of is. If someone says, well, I have lots of experiences, they have lots of stories to tell. And then all this stuff. So he's like created this whole story that doesn't pan out when you actually rewatch the show. Michael, get back in your cage. Yeah, I don't see where anything. He's completely. If he thinks he talked to you and Coles on that show, he has dreamed up something, or he's straight up lying, because it didn't happen. It didn't happen. He talked to you and Jay. Coles only stepped in for 5 minutes early, just to say earlier in the show, and said hi, but there was no interaction between Coles and Ben at all, and he's insisting that Coles was involved, and it's crazy. Is a voice analyzer a real thing? Oh yeah. Michael says hello to Mr. Lee and his foxes. Brandy says, "What does the foxy say?" Very important question. Mr. Hughes says, "Haywood, stop and hands up." Mr. Lee says, Brandy Fox says, "Give me another Frankfurter, you asshole." Uncle Bones, wind beneath your wings. Donald says, "I thought it was strange that he was saying what he was saying, but Ben T's story is kind of strange in my humble opinion." Yeah, I mean, I wasn't prepared to say his story is probably embellished. But after all that, and the fact that he's says he's I've seen him many times, and then he seems to state pretty assertively, they like to watch us. He always says that they like to watch us, which I don't know if that means anything or what, but I'm sure they do. I don't think it's an important fact, but Angel says this allegedly happened on Joe's show. I don't remember either one saying anything about Ben T. Yeah. Yeah, go. I mean, you can go back and rewatch it yourself. Um, I just couldn't believe he was saying the stuff he was saying, so I had to keep prying at getting him to respond because he was trying to back out and not say anything more. I'm like, no, dude, you've accused Joe of calling you a liar, using a voice stress analyzer on you. You claim Coles was talking to you in the show, and that can be seen to clearly not be the case. And to cover up that bullshit, you're now claiming Joe has cut part of the show out. Chessboard says, hello, Lockbeard and all. Hello, Uncle Bones. What's up, Chessboard? Yeah, I've never seen him do it. May not believe someone sometimes, but I never say you're lying. No, yeah. I mean, Ben's just made this list of accusations at this point that don't pan out. They didn't happen. So Ben on Moog Show. Yeah, he was on Moog Show too. I haven't gone back to rewatch that one. But I don't think Coles wasn't on that interview either. And Joe wasn't on the interview. He's saying he gave me the link to that show that he was on Joe. So on the show. Well, he. I mean, you can go back and look at the messages. Somewhere he said that he was going to that he would find where it was clipped out, but I don't see where anything was clipped out. The show 2.5 hours is a typical show length anyway. At no point was he talking to Coles. So I don't know where he's pulling that out of his ass somewhere. And it's just not in character for Joe to just call someone a liar the way he's claiming. And the whole, I don't know, everything, none of it adds up. It's just so ridiculous. I can't even take anything he says seriously about this. Donald says, Ben seems like a nice guy, but he has some strange claims like they watch him all the time. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he could be weird and make some strange claims, as long as, things don't go too far. But man, when he started, making these accusations of Joe and Steve Coles, in Houston, we have a problem. Brandy says, I remember him going on and telling his story on Mogs twice at least, I believe. Joe says, well, it don't confront me. Can't be beloved by everyone. No, yeah, I mean, I don't expect there to be a big battle about it. I'm just saying, he's telling me this openly in chat and in comments. And, I mean, to say something like that, like, I'm gonna, I'm have to be. He's gonna have to back some shit up, and the story just kept getting crazier the more it went on. So I had to address it. I don't know exactly. I don't know exactly. Too much and missed some shows. Yeah, well, there's a lot of shows, man. There's a lot of shows. Sean says, I watched that. Joe was nothing but respectful and being good natured as usual. Yeah. 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 He may be. Yeah. I mean, I hate to make a diagnosis. I'm not qualified, but I could probably be diagnosed myself. However, that didn't set well. The moment he was saying that shit, I was like, no, okay, we're gonna have to deal with this. Joe, it's hard to be humble when we're perfect in every way, says Sharon. want to be able to talk like Darth Vader. Joe is always respectful, yeah, says Mr. Lee. Welcome to Raptor Crazy. When you get the skull thing, dog sitting in your throat, you're good to go. Yeah. Prank call Mr. Lee. Joe says it's nice to know I have people who will stick up for me, though. Thanks. You're welcome, Joe. Lord Vader. They make voice mods for that in real life. Yeah. Yeah. Randy says, yeah, I never heard Joe be negative, and if he ever felt he was, he owns it. Yeah. Low hanging fruit, I'm in, says Squatch Talk. Randy says, Joe, this has to be a mistake or something. No worries. I guess. I mean, y'all can go and look at the I mean, if you want to, analyze it more closely, the chat, it's in LOCKBEARD Random Live number 77. And it's, in the chat and in the comments below. Something ain't right. Look out for calls. All right. Let's let me bring up. Well, I'll start with the I'll start with the Facebook post, I guess. I might as well. Partly because I want to shut it down as soon as I can, because I can hear it just making my laptop wheels spin. So for anyone who hasn't seen it, the Coyote Peterson posted this. Why it's doing that, I don't know. Anyway, so it was a couple days ago. It says breaking news: leaking pics here before they are taken down, and before government officials try to seize our footage. Found a large primate skull in British Columbia. Filmed it, cut the footage, releasing on Brave Wilderness this weekend. That's the name of his YouTube channel, Brave Wilderness. He says, I have kept this secret for several weeks. Yes, I have the skull. It's currently in a secure location awaiting primatologist review. Absolutely unreal. We thought it was a bear skull when we found it. I can 100% guarantee it is not. The skull was found partially buried underground in deep back forest ravine after a massive storm in the Pacific Northwest, where clearly a bunch of trees and earth were disturbed. I'm sure these pics will be taken down, as will probably the video, by government or state park officials, but the skull is safe. I don't know if it's what you all think it might be, but I cannot explain finding a primate skull in the Pacific Northwest without wondering, what do you believe? Now, if you were not familiar with his channel, which I was not before this, you might think this guy is actually claiming all that shit to be true, but he's not. It's just a clickbait, straight up clickbait. That skull is almost certainly just a dirty, or possibly painted. They may have done, like to make it look old, replica gorilla skull. There's been people that have compared it. Well, actually, there's a video. Let me get to that. Where they do actually compare it to a replica gorilla skull. Volume's really low.
Super famous YouTuber Coyote Peterson claims that he has found the skull of a large primate in British Columbia. Here we're taking a look at said skull as he pulls it from the mud. Here we get a better look at said skull. You can see it has some prominent features which will help us identify it. Now he claims that he thought this at first was a bear skull. I'm calling a little bit of BS on that because, I mean, if you've collected or looked at skulls at all, and I'm sure Coyote's looked at many skulls, you can tell that this is very much not a bear skull. So you guys might be wondering, if it's not a bear skull, then what kind of skull is it? Well, right here we're looking at bone clones replica of a large male gorilla skull. And if you look at the features of this compared to the picture that Coyote Peterson posted, it seems like a pretty good match that this is indeed a male gorilla skull. In fact, if we look at this picture that was posted by Stockton Skulls, we can see that not only is this a gorilla skull, but it is in fact the same skull, most likely, as the bone clones replica that I just showed you. And there's many features that we can point out on this, like the sagittal crest, the bump of the frontal bone, some of the foramen, the nasal bones. All these regions point to this is in fact the same skull replica. Now, why would Coyote Peterson actually post this? Well, many people are speculating that it's some kind of marketing stunt. I really hope that it's not, and I hope that he's going to use this fake skull to try to bring some prominence to the plight of actual gorillas or other primates in the wild, or maybe illegally being brought into the pet trade or poached.
Well, it was kind of a marketing stunt. This clip we just saw was on the Skullatorium YouTube channel. So, just a second. Get this other video up. I don't know why this has changed where it makes it harder for me to get a new, but it has. StreamYard's changed it. See if I can catch up in the chat real quick. Maybe. Raptor says, is somebody talking about Joe? Hell, he's got a good show, yeah. Yeah, it definitely is, Mr. Lee. Like, there's no way he's got a real one. He certainly isn't going to stick a real skull out in the mud like that. But, you know, it's definitely gorilla. Never said Bigfoot, says Pat. It's like your show makes a lot of sense. No one believed it, Joe. We all know you. Michael says, Mr. Lee, that's not fair. It could be some other man-made material. No one waited for the video. Yeah. Once you see the video, all becomes real. But they could have just gone and watched everything that was well, not everything. You watch enough of his previous videos, it's just like Peter Kane, right? People saw some of Peter Kane's videos and thought, oh, this was legit. But if you watch it, if you watch enough of his Bigfoot videos, you cannot possibly believe any of that's legit. I mean, the Bigfoot, the live female Bigfoot in the barn moaning because she's at her time of the month. Yeah. The whole thing's a joke. His channel, and so anyone that goes back and watches some of this guy's Coyote Peterson's stuff would been able to figure out that it's a joke. Never accused to make any sense. It comes down to the Weed family. Does Joe have CIA tabs? Says Pat. Maybe I wonder what. Are you that busy at work? No gorilla skulls. Troll member. I'm dumber than a box of rocks. That poncho gets someone. Brandy says, Sharon Guy, I like how one of your emojis was a cowboy, Brokeback Mountain vibes. For a little bit, take care. So no doubt. Don't doubt that. So I doubt that, you say. Ponchos are comfy. Mr. Lee says only Clint Eastwood can have a poncho. I'm just saying. Joe says, nah, you're not a troll raptor. I don't allow trolls. You're good to go. Still have your poncho when you was a tiny Brandy? The man. Uncle Bones gets credit for the joke. Or Miss Sharon does. Mr. Lee says, Brandy, girls are allowed to have ponchos, I guess. Sharon Guy says, Mr. Lee, I'm going to have my son-in-law look. He gets junk from Amazon every day. Tiny poncho is a bandana with a hole in it. Tatooine on the outer rim, beep beep. No appropriate comment. All right, so let's we're gonna look at two parts of this video.
I got a skull. Are you guys gonna run and come listen?
See that? Like eye cavity sticking up?
Human.
No, it's probably there.
Holy mackerel! Look at that!
Look at that!
That's not a bear skull. Okay, put that down.
That is the skull of a primate in the Pacific Northwest, buried under mud in a log fall down the side of a river.
Whatever. This was maybe shot in the head. There's a hole in the skull.
Is camera on recording?
Big.
All right, now let's get to the important part. I mean, here in a second, he's going to tell you straight up that this is a scenario. This is an artificially created scenario. And he says he's only going to tell you once. So listen closely to what he's about to say after the portal nonsense. Because the portal nonsense is kind of funny, but he's going to say, I'm only going to say this once. And he straight up tells you right here that it's a fake scenario that they created. He doesn't say it in those words, but he says it's fake.
But there are no other trees around here that have burn. Whoa, look at that. I think it is. It's a Sasquatch portal. I'm gonna get inside of it and see what happens. Whoa. That's crazy looking. Wow. I feel like I'm getting sucked into another dimension.
Action.
Pay close attention to what I'm about to tell you, because I'm only going to say it once. Moving forward, we're going to be creating a what-if scenario. Now, as somebody who wants to believe in the existence of a bipedal primate living in the Pacific Northwest, I have to ask myself, why have the following series of events never happened?
The Pacific Northwest environment is so epic. We've had a great time today, just hiking this location, getting us deep into the back.
So he said it right there. We're creating a what if scenario. Why hasn't this ever happened? He just said it right there. It's a fake, straight up fake. Hopefully that puts an end to anybody thinking that there's anything real about this skull. He did not find a gorilla skull in the woods. He did not. They created that whole scenario. So, end of story. It's a big nothing burger. It's nothing to get mad about. It's not an attempt at a hoax. it's just entertainment. He's not trying. He was clickbaity, but he's not trying to perpetrate an actual hoax. If you look at his channel, his channel is clearly got a lot of this kind of entertainment in it, and so it's nothing. It's really no big deal. So I'll find one. Comes the buffering right on time. Yeah, damn buffering. That mom says Lee commenting the way the stones blew out in one direction makes me think a high pack tannerite, more like C4. Think Fed paint, but who who really cares? Well, and in the video I showed at the beginning of the live stream, Jimmy mentions that because there's a supposed to be a time capsule buried underneath there. So I'm wondering if someone wants to get at that time capsule and what the hell is in it. I'm gonna be saying that all week. Everyone gonna get pissed off. Saying what, Mr. Lee? Michael Haywood strikes again. Maximum buffering. Timmy Boy says, Lockbeard, my intro, please.
Level out, come on.
Pat says, again, huge fail at trying to entertain, sad and desperate. Yep, Pat is clearly not impressed. Nobody got their intro. Well, I don't always do. Can't always do the intros, Brandy. Are you saying that this is your intro?
You remind me of the babe.
The upfront narrative is more hoax than clickbait. I guess I could see how you could make that argument. Raptor says, Pat, good show last night. Hope you're having a good day. Yep. Mr. Lee says, Pat, how would you best describe your show? Mr. Lee, you picking on Pat a little bit tonight? Looks like you're picking on Pat. It's in the chamber. Jen says, last day of vacation, so a sad, sad day, Timmy boy. Joe says, yeah, this is not something to be angry about. It's what it is. Useless as evidence or answering any questions. Moving on. Brandy says, fat gas skull, next order of business. Yeah, but we're gonna, it's just like Peter Kane. You kind of got to talk about Peter Kane at some point, because some people are actually, because they haven't seen enough of his stuff, I guess, to realize the dude's completely fake. He's a comedian. His videos are not meant to be a hoax or a lie. They're just comedy. So vacation chat. Pat says, Mr. Lee, my show is a responsible conversational show about the Bigfoot phenomena. Boom. Take that, Mr. Lee. Raptor says, 3PO, it's probably because I said hi to him. He does that sometimes. So we need to look at, I guess it's supposed to be an elf. Hold on a second. It's supposed to be an elf caught on Coyote Peterson's channel.
We should roll on this. Go ahead, just bring up your camera. Tracking animals is incredibly difficult, and you have to know the exact right signs to search for in the environment. Now, what we have off to my left here is what you would consider a game trail, a trail that an animal uses frequently, almost like a super highway to get from one spot of the environment to the next. It's a good chance that the creature we search for today uses this trail. To investigate, I'm going to lose the backpack, and I'm going to go head in on this. You got to take chances if you want to make good wildlife documentaries. All right, follow me if you can.
Crawling through it.
Get a good shot. This is intense. So keep the camera lower so it seems intense. So right now we're on the trail of this elusive creature, and it's important for me to stay low. The more that I can keep my scent and the sound of me moving through the environment away from this animal's senses, the better. All right, let's try to cover a little bit more ground.
And the whole video is like, it's, you know, obvious joke. See, I get to the right spot here. I think this is it.
Paper. This is incredible. Come slowly.
Gosh, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna be?
This is amazing.
This is amazing. I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this. Okay. Oh, come on, Coyote. What's it gonna be? Red Rider, BB gun. Coyote Peterson action figure.
It's a piece
of paper with
a Brave
Wilderness sticker on it.
It's a letter. Dear
Coyote, stop following me.
You're never going to catch me.
XOXO.
Cut.
Dude,
there's something behind you, man.
Oh my gosh! That's it!
That's it! Give me the camera!
Oh my gosh! That's it! That is him. That is the chance. I got him on camera! Oh my gosh, I can't believe it! Oh my gosh!
So, yep. His channel's just a comedy. Where's the chat at? Joe says, hey, Peter Kane is the president of the Bigfoot community. Don't talk shit about him. Yeah. Mr. Lee, weren't you recently hired to mod for Pat? I noticed you were AWOL last night. Yeah, what's up with Mr. Lee and his modding behavior? And isn't he supposed to be a co-host somewhere? Roomy boy. All hail Peter Kane. I was down the pub, mate. Brandy says, Jen, I know that was typo, but that's hilarious. Fat fingers. Keto drinks. Mr. Lee. Pat says, Donald 3PO was at the pub doing his job just as I programmed him to do. It's going to stick now. Yeah, he's just a comedian. But some of his material is educational, you know, but everybody just needs to be able to recognize that he's mixed comedy in there as well. Now the elf video, pretty sure that was just straight up comedy. You won the lottery with that one, Jen, says Pat or Mr. Lee. Just joking. Pretty conclusive, yeah. Brandy says, Team Boy, I will only think it every time I see you now. I won't say it. Was that Waldo? It's supposed to be like an elf or something. Maybe he was Waldo. I don't know. Is Waldo an elf? Mr. Lee says, Team Boy, next time I see Patrick Vaughn, I will say Remy Boy says hello. Yep, where's Waldo? Team Boy says, hey, hell, I might make another account, Remy Boy 2.0. Yeah. So, what else? We slaughtered plenty for the night, haven't we? Uncle Bones? What you laughing at? Let me see here. Don't think I have any other videos to show. Tim Boy says, thanks a lot, Jen. Oh, Mr. Lee. He's then broke the seal. They're going to start showing up now. Well, I mean, I think there's people actually trying to perpetrate that as a hoax as well. They're trying to confuse people. They know that a lot of people couldn't science their way out of a paper bag and can be convinced of something like that. So there's no facts to back it up. It's just you create enough doubt in people's minds, you gaslight the shit out of them, and before you know it. But there's some people that are lying and trying to do this on purpose, and then there's some people that are, falling for the sales pitch, and so why do they believe? It's dumb. It's just, dumb. People who literally think they're smart, but they couldn't. They have no geometry about them whatsoever, and it's really just basic geometry. You need to figure it out. Pat says, back to the Georgia Guidestones. Commie rhetoric or not? Man, I don't know. You got to. Sometimes rich people are just weird. Like, I know a lot of people think, well, this is some kind of New World Order plan. Or it just could be some rich guy who has certain ideas of what he thinks the world should be, and he decided to create a monument with that on there. It could be very, very harmless. I would think that if someone was planning a genocide, like some suggest that the Stones suggest, which could be a little bit of a leap, but that they wouldn't warn you with a big freaking monument, right? They wouldn't. They would just do it. And now I'm echoing Magneto, right, from the X-Men movies, where they were taught the mutants were meeting, and they said they were saying nobody's talking about blah 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 blah, and And Magneto steps in and he says, nobody ever talks about it. They just do it. And there's to some degree, he's certainly correct, isn't he? Mr. Lee is stirring the pot. Which show of Joe's? If you hold on a second. I might be able to. I might be able to get the link and just post the link, and you can just jump. You can link over to it. Whoops. Started playing on me there. All right. I'm putting it in chat, Donald. Pat's the pot stirrer. Sharon Guy says, where is Danny? His Steve Austin and his Bigfoot story sounds like this dude. Mr. Lee says, Mr. Pat, would you make a good debate against a flat earther? He did it, Mr. Lee. Did you not watch that? It's been a while back, but he freaking did it. There it goes. Pat says, Mr. Lee, yes, and already did that live online on the Modern Day Debate channel. I think many people as I am. Was that really a debate? Well, the other side thought they because some of the ridiculous things that they call arguments. Jen says, Timmy Boy, I was going to delete it, but it still shows up for lock and would have been read anyway. What are you talking about? Not sure what you're talking about there. I don't get it. The fragile stuff. Brandy says, I'm not as think as you smart I am. Joe says, Lockbeard is Magneto. I knew it. Different word for fragile folk. Pussies. This says, Brandy, that sounds like something I'd say. There's the link to that episode on Joe's channel. If anybody wants to review the situation. Did it work? My links never work. What work? Were you trying to post a link? Because no, I don't think anyone can post a link unless I make a mod out of them. No common sense either. Yeah. Donald says that Mr. Lee, I still can't figure out the posting link crap. Well, you mean like Mr. Lee does? Are you mod somewhere? Well, you are, aren't you? Just where it says, apologize for not saying hello to each, but don't want to talk about moment. Pat says, doesn't matter. They weren't. they weren't outright advocating for outright genocide. The ideal of maintaining population under 500 million is genocidal thinking. Well, it could be, but it could also not be. Depending on how it's handled. If you say, I mean, people would have to have the freedom to choose, right? So let's say you have, there's too many babies being born, and your government has the budget to offer a monetary incentive for people to agree to, get hysterectomies or vasectomies to reduce the birth rate. There might be a number of people who might take the monetary incentive. Now, some people would be offended by that. And there's reasons why you might be offended by that. Like, one that I might have issue with is like, okay, where's the money come from? Is it coming from my pocket? Because I don't want to pay for that. But let's say you're an insanely rich person. Perhaps if an insanely rich person who can afford to put up a monument like the Georgia Guidestones, maybe that person could put their money where their mouth is and offer monetary incentives to people to get vasectomies. I mean, there's ways you could do it while still maintaining liberty, but there's also very bad ways to do it. So, and maintaining the population, I mean, is that really genocidal thinking? And I mean, if you are at 500 million and you're just trying to stay there, I mean, it ain't like you're saying we need to wipe out 7.5 billion people in order to get down to 500 million now. Now, if they're saying that, then that's a whole different thing. Don't like talking to yourself? Actually, says Lockbeard for moderator. That's okay. I don't need to be a moderator, Mr. Lee. Where? A moderator where? Donald says, Lockbeard, I just saw our buddy is doing a show on the skull. How much you want to bet he says it's real? You can see anything over there. I don't like go. I mean, it's so distasteful to watch him, Donald. I just he's probably talking about Vault of Nonsense. Why so quiet? Oh, hell. Grasshopper says 1984 wasn't a suggestion. There were plenty of warnings for decades after. The hierarchy will get what it wants, as you see in what's happening worldwide now. Yeah, I mean, that's why the people need to stand up and start resisting. Do more than just protesting. I mean, I probably need to be careful what exactly I say, When we talked about the farmers in the Netherlands resisting, who knows what's really going on. The news isn't really wanting to report on it, right? And, I know there's been some shots fired as far as like a cop shooting at a tractor with a 16-year-old boy on it or something like that. The boy was arrested, but he was alive, as I recall. But things could get seriously out of control. And the government wants to preserve itself, and it's not recognizing that these are the people you're supposed to be working for. When they're this pissed off, what you should do is resign in disgrace and submit yourself for legal penalty, whatever the proper penalty is for what you have done. If you have to be removed from office because you've done that bad of a job, I'm thinking some jail time to think about what you did. It's probably warranted, but Joe says to Mike, well, my cats always ask me how I am feeling and then walk away before I can answer because they're cats and they really don't care. Yeah. Someone could walk in your house, murder you, and your cat would like take a petting from that person before he leaves, and then probably just go right to eating you. Pat says government should never be in charge of the populations. That is fucking insanity and as wrong as it gets no matter what. Jen says, Brandy, be careful. The dogs might tell him something like son of Sam. Damn pussies. Put your money where your mouth is because you ain't saying a damn thing. Movie. Shit, I don't know. I don't know that one, Mr. Lee. Grasshopper says the food the Western world is eating is killing us. GMO is real and created to starve the world slowly. Yeah. And poison people too. You know, like I've tried to tell people, like you literally need less food if you don't eat plants and just eat meat, because the plants have anti-nutrients that your body's so now your body's fighting to absorb the nutrition in your food because the plants have compounds in them that makes it harder to absorb the nutrients. So you need to eat more to try and overcome that, and you never seem to accomplish it. Also, eating carbs causes a hormonal hunger response, so it makes you hungrier. And then also fighting the toxins. Like, so your body's going to need more nutrition, more fuel to try and fight the toxins in the plants. You're not supposed to eat plants. Fucking period. And it's just hard to get people to accept that because they've been told for so long, oh, you know, broccoli and spinach. These are extremely healthy things. They are absolutely not extremely healthy things. They are actually unhealthy things a human should not eat. It's hard for a person to wrap their mind around that until they start looking into why that is and the things that are in them and human development, what we're actually designed for. You know, we've come a long way since, our chimpanzee cousins and our common ancestor. The chimpanzees didn't develop like we did. They stayed on their normal little ape path over there, and they can fling some poo at you, but they can't throw with any power or accuracy. Humans have a totally different design to their shoulder now. We have changed to be able to throw things with power and accuracy to take down prey. We are specifically evolved to kill prey. Period. There's no one can argue that at all. Period. It's ridiculous if they think anything differently. Part of our upright stance, I think, came from that, but the other part has to do with the aquatic ape hypothesis, and that's a whole thing to go into. And then, like our stomach acid, again, the strength of our stomach acid is comparable to a scavenger, not just a carnivore, but stronger than that, scavenger level. So we are totally designed to eat meat and even be able to handle rotting meat. We got to where we weren't. Sometimes we were stealing scavenged meat, but we had also got to where we were killing huge animals that you weren't eating in one meal. You were probably going to have to camp out around it for weeks to eat on it. And you did not have refrigeration. That's why we have that stomach acid. Extremely strong stomach acid, like a normal what's normal for scavengers that eat rotting flesh all the time. Now, that seems distasteful to us now in our culture because we've gotten away from it quite a bit, but we have that capability. And it's just another part of the evidence that we are strictly carnivorous, almost 100%. Tiny bit of fruit and mushrooms, but we're meat eaters. And that's why they're going after the meat everywhere they can. They're trying to take away our meat because they know once you take away the meat, people, well, like in vegans, they found that the longer they're on a vegan diet, the more their brain shrinks. You cannot get proper nutrition to maintain your brain size when you're eating strictly plants. It's because you're not, that's so far away from what a human's supposed to eat. It's ridiculous. We're supposed to eat fatty red meat for the most part and some fish, occasional fruit, occasional mushrooms. But now they want you to not just eat things that are completely unnatural, like corn. Corn in its current form, even without the GMO aspect, is so selectively bred away from its natural form that it cannot survive in the wild. The kernels are too packed on the cob, and they all sprout and they try to compete with each other. And everything wants to eat them now because the sugar content's up, and everything wants to eat the kernels anyway. So domestic corn just can't survive in the wild. We've changed it so much, and then they started doing the GMO stuff and made it even way worse. Cats really don't care. They're self-centered, says Brandy. Rush Hour. Was it Rush Hour? Car wash movie. There's Jay. Found his fellow weirdos. You missed everything, man, says Mr. Lee. Can't believe the news. Being in incarceration is no fun. How do you know, Mr. Lee? Yeah. Yeah. Jay Fritz, you're apparently Steve Coles now, says Joe. That's from multiple movies and a song, says Brandy. Was that Lawrence Welk? Should be a thing in Ottawa. That jail time should be a thing in Ottawa. Yes, the Canadian government, as I stated the other night, I want to try and more often make specific, like state-specific stances for, the empire. And the empire stance is that the government of the Netherlands and Canada should be like completely arrested. Everybody fucking arrested. And they failed so thoroughly. Angel says to Timmy, I turn on the local news for the weather report, and any local news, the national news is a joke. You mean the band? Don't want you either. No, he's crazy. Brandy says, Mr. Lee, first one to stump me, you get a trophy. Joe says, long story, Jay, but nothing to worry about. Yeah, nothing to worry about. It just irked the hell out of me when he said that. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? Mr. Lee says, Lockbeard, I had linguine the other night. Fucked me up all the next day. I bet it did, man. I bet it did. I mean, yesterday, for some reason, I grabbed a couple of Red Bulls, sugar-free Red Bulls, and as y'all might recall, I was having some issues that I figured out was probably the aspartame, the artificial sweetener, and some of the stuff I was using. And I stopped, and the problems pretty much went away. And then I had those couple of Red Bulls yesterday, and then last night I was just completely messed up. Where I felt like the blood flow went into I couldn't seem to find a pulse. Like I could on my wrist, but I was like, why can't I find a pulse? to my fucking head. And why is my head numb? And why does it feel like my heart's doing crazy shit? And it's very, very unsettling. But so I'm pretty scared of aspartame now. I just because it just turned that whole those symptoms just started right back up. Jay says, like I would ever worry not. Car Wash is a great movie. People don't see it. Jen says, Mr. Lee, I had fries and meatball sub last night. My blood pressure was through the roof today. Raptor says, I love that scene with the jar. They thought it was poison, went up in the air, and it broke, and the guy said it's piss. Mr. Lee says, Brandy, you must check it. Also, Richard Pryor, my favorite. Tinny Boy says, I subscribe to the Stone Date Theory. Yeah, we talked about that some on here, too. I think there may be some merit to it. You know, because those substances, psilocybin and psilocin, work so perfectly with the human mind chemistry. To increase intellect, you know, and it really makes me think that it's true that for so many thousands of years, human shamans were using these substances that we may have actually evolved to adjust to them. Because you take a microdose and it makes you smarter. You take too much. I mean, of course, you can take too much of anything, right? You take too much of certain vitamins, it can fucking kill you. So, but you take too much of this, it don't kill you, but you might see some wild shit. You know. Brandy says, "Oh man, I remember the first time I realized I'd hit the age where I'd had to be careful what I ate. 'Twas a sad day." Dr. Erwin Corey and his piss sample. Yep. Michael says, thank God it's Friday is another movie. UB2, my old Butsky. Mr. Lee says, when will we start eating each other? Do you reckon? Don't eat the corn poison. When will we start eating each other? I don't know, Mr. Lee. It depends on how bad the shit hits the fan. The shit hits the fan bad enough, people will go very easily into eating other people. Humans have a long history of cannibalism. It's not at all an alien thing for us. We just happen to live in a culture that has an extreme aversion to it. And the problem with cultures that have certain extreme viewpoints is that to them, it's normal, right? They don't realize it's an extreme viewpoint. But if you study enough cultures throughout history, you find out that, you know, we're pretty extreme in our aversion to cannibalism. You know, every other creature on the planet will exert some level of cannibalism under certain circumstances. And humans have been no different in our evolutionary history or even recent history. I think some of the tribes now still practice it a little bit low key for different reasonings, but for the most part, we've kind of, you know, because our Western culture has gone out and tried to dominate the whole damn planet, and we're like, oh, you can't be eating people, it's stupid. Well, Granny says I'll add it to my list, Mr. Lee. Raptor says that Michael Haywood, all three of the Fridays were good. Part 2 was the best. I'm going to go all Azteca on you. Joe says, me, I'm big brain. Me, am educated. Randy says, hooked on phonics works for me. Brandy, are you trying to confuse Lockbeard, says Mr. Lee? It's just a bonus. Thought it was from the Sesame Street. Low rider. Brandy says, shame, Lockbeard. Yeah. Energy drinks will kill you, says Grasshopper. Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple times when it wasn't just energy drinks, like there's anything that has aspartame in it. I start thinking, am I gonna fucking die? Like, what's going on here? It spooks shit out of me. So yeah, stay away from aspartame. Fuck. Brandy says Raptor. It was a reading system parents could purchase to help their kids hooked on phonics. Haha. Sesame Street may have advertised it. I don't recall. Cut your Red Bull, Grey Goose. Dude, yeah, I know a lot of people. Like back in the day when I drank, I had occasional Red Bull and vodka, but something I kind of noticed about those is like you get someone that drinks a lot of them is basically they're putting a lot of caffeine in their system, a lot of stuff to wake you up, and alcohol will knock your ass out at some point. Like at some point you'll be drunk enough that you're going to pass out. Well, that Red Bull keeps you awake a little bit longer, right? Because I mean, you're drinking energy drinks, and if someone's drinking Red Bull and vodka after Red Bull and vodka, they're like hyper loading on caffeine and other stuff, and so they are awake. They're awake longer than they're supposed to. They're at a state of being awake and drunker than ever, and there's a change. Like it's like certain regulatory components of their brain are turned off while they're awake that they've never experienced before, and they'll do things that they never did before, no matter how drunk they got. Red Bull and vodka is an extremely bad idea. It just is extremely bad idea. You shouldn't. You're mixing drugs, right? Alcohol, an upper and a downer. Alcohol and caffeine. Jen says Lockbeard probably developed an allergic reaction to that crap. Well, I just think aspartame is just straight up poison, along with some of the other shit in energy drinks. But I get scared looking at carbs. Yeah, that's probably a good thing. Brandy says if you're possibly diabetic, that's a no-no. Not even joking, no to carbs. Stone Date, didn't you know? That's me. Yeah. Joe might be interested in the Stone Date hypothesis. The idea that humans are actually evolved to use psilocybin mushrooms. Yeah, that's a blast. Lowrider says there's no such thing as too much bacon. That is absolutely correct. And I'm seriously thinking of going down to that buffet tomorrow where I can put a pile of bacon on my plate as high as I freaking want. Everybody dance now. Too much what? Mr. Lee says, for example, my girlfriend ate chips this evening and I got terrified. Timmy Boy says, Joe, there's a bunch of stoned apes in here. Bacon. It's bacon. I can't read. Mr. Lee says, Brandy, that's a tune. That is a tune, man. Yum chips. Jen says, carbs don't work by proxy, Mr. Lee. You mean fries? Joe says, I swear by bald-headed baby Jesus, anyone eats me, and I will give them, I think, the worst case of gas they ever had. You have been warned. Jay says, sorry, I ain't giving up my salsa chips and jalapeno cheese dip. Yeah. Well, there's like on the market, they're expensive though. I forget the name of it. I might have showed them to you guys one night. They're like a keto like chip. It's made out of protein, like whey or something, milk or something. Anyway, it's kind of like a corn chip. They're kind of like corn chips, but they're keto. They're low carb. Granny says I like cheese, its, and cream cheese. I could do without the cheese its. Occasionally, I'll just get me a block of cream cheese and just eat the cream cheese. Just slice it like you would a block of cheese and just eat the cream cheese. Fava beans, Uncle Bone says. Red Bull gives you wings. No, I think Red Bull about kills me. Jen says, oh no, the dogs have gotten to Michael. Potato chip. Michael says he's already eaten a few people. Fly fairies fly. What? Dog whispers. I hope not. Tim Boy says, Lockbeard, that's the reason to drink it. You're looking at this all wrong. No, dude. From what I've seen, once you're to a certain level of drunk, it's a really good idea that you just go to sleep. It really is. You know, because you'll do shit that you like. You really need to pass out. That's why, you know, maybe that's why it works that way. You know, once you get to a certain level of drunk, you just pass out because you really need to pass out because you're much greater likelihood of freaking dying or killing someone else if you don't pass out by a certain damn point. And sometimes people don't pass out soon enough, right? Because that's why we have a lot of problems. You really need to pass the hell out. Now, I never would. Well, it happened on occasion, but typically what I would do is once it come time to leave the bar or it was coming up, I go get some water and start you know, coming out of the effects of the alcohol. Occasionally someone would make fun of, what are you drinking water for? You need more shots. I'm like, no, what I need to do is not wake up with a hangover tomorrow morning, and I won't. As you will, you'll wake up and you'll be puking and not be able to function correctly and have just making your life hell unnecessarily. If you just drink a bunch of water before you go to bed and don't tie one on too much, because you can tie one on to the point that that water may not get you off the hook for a hangover. But for the most part, the way I handle, you know, because you know, I just don't drink until I'm falling down, or I used to when I used to drink. I don't drink at all anymore. I've completely lost interest in it. I really don't see any reason to just throw money away for alcohol. And I just don't, it just doesn't, I'm like, I like to keep, you know, I'm absent-minded enough. Jay Fritz says 14. I don't know what he's talking about. Mr. Pat, where you at? He probably dipped out. Raptor says drinking Red Bull is a bad idea. We had a family member that was 20 years old, was drinking Red Bull since he was 18, and he died from a massive heart attack. Yeah, that happens sometimes. Yeah, it's people probably should try. You know, I mean, really, we're probably going to find out one of these days that the Food and Drug Administration knew damn good and well that these things were extremely dangerous and probably killing people sometimes, and then not the connection not being made that the energy drinks had something to do with the person dying. Like that heart attack, they might just say, "Oh, well, he just had a heart attack." Well, you know, but at least you seem to recognize that the Red Bull may have been a connection. There was an episode of House. You ever watch House, the TV show with Hugh Laurie, the doctor that died diagnostician. And there was an episode where the little boy actually was, the diagnosis ended up being, well, he was both male and female, but his parents hid it from him and was giving him testosterone and telling him it was vitamins. And so anyway, they were overprotective, and that was part of the problem in the whole situation. But it ended up being that part of what caused him to get sick and end up in the hospital was he was drinking energy drinks, and it stressed his system, and he almost died. Now, how close, that is to reality? Supposedly they were trying to keep things pretty, pretty realistic in the show, but surely they took some artistic license, but here and there. But it was energy drinks was part of the equation. It wasn't the whole thing, but it was part of the equation, and it almost led to this little boy or little girl's death, depending on how you look at it, I guess. But yeah, that was a good show. House was. Brandy says, I like my sugar-free lime Red Bulls. I'd get one every now and then, but they don't sell that flavor anymore. Buttholes. Yeah, I used to get those too. I loved those, man. Why in the hell? Like, it's funny, like you pick out something you like, and then for whatever they discontinue. I'm like, why are you discontinuing that? You're morons. But we really don't need Red Bull anyway. Michelle says, eat the bacon, Lockbeard, and the eggs. Yeah, I'll get some eggs and bacon tomorrow probably, because I need some proper feed. Need a proper feed. First roll of Hannibal Club. Michael, did you eat the genitalia too? What in the hell? Brandy says, Raptor, sorry to hear that. They sell them to 13-year-olds around here. Not okay. Long Island Bigfoot. Yeah. He can drink all the Red Bull he wants. Uncle Bone says, Brandy, that's where he started. Brandy says, normally I'd say, what the fuck, Blackbeard, but cream cheese is good. Well, because, it's low carb, carnivore. Start putting it on crackers or something, and it completely, it makes it unhealthy. Yeah, it's been pretty hot up here as well. However, we had a pretty significant cool down today. It got to, I think it actually hit 105 yesterday, but it only got to like 95 or 96 today. And it's already starting to cool off a little bit. It's 92 right now. And yes, I'm sitting out in it. I got a little fan here, but which is perfectly doing its job. Joe says, I will eat anything except testicles. No animal testicles will get anywhere near my mouth. That mom says, I keep going in and out at work. Sorry. Hi to all my peeps. Randy says, so you say now, Joe, what if it's all we got left? He will then call testicles scrotal filet mignon. Think cool thoughts. Eat dirt. He'll eat the dirt before he eats testicles. With the bull and the goose. Gotta have a little self-control. Yeah. Find some worms. Yeah, probably some testicles and some sausage. Lead pie. How are the bees? They're doing good. I really need to sell some though. Might be ready to sell some 5-frame. They call them nucleus colonies, where it's a box. It's a smaller box with 5 frames that you sell to someone, and they can start a new colony with it. So I really need to start selling those to cover, because I've had to put money in. It's not really a money making business at this point, and I really doubt I'm gonna be looking at any kind of significant profit this year. It takes a while to build up, so I'll just keep on plugging on. But yeah, they're doing fine. Feeding them a lot, trying to make them grow a lot. Haven't been stung in a couple days. One of them got me right here a few days ago. Just to give me a reminder. But yeah, they're doing fine. Western New York says, I would have a suggestion for that mom for getting cool, but it could be viewed as inappropriate, and I'm not that kind of guy usually. 14 like button. Water doesn't help you when you're drunk. I beg to differ. What happens is it helps your body process everything and alleviate the dehydration involved. So at the end of the night, go get a big glass of water, at least one big glass of water. I usually would go to the same, frequented the same bar, so the bartender just knew. End of the night, I'm gonna have some water, and they would just get me my water. But anyway, so you won't have a hangover unless you tied one on pretty heavily. If you drink pretty hard, you might still have a hangover. But if you drink enough water before you go to bed, it will prevent the hangover for the most part. Bet mom get naked. After crazy, that is very true. Water does not help. Now, if you're saying you're not going to suddenly get undrunk, well, no, not very suddenly. But if you got time, you'll start to come down. House was a good show, yeah. Knuckleheads. Somebody was doing Red Bull enemas. What the hell? Trying to get you in trouble. Coffee and liver loves coffee. Had the hots for Cuddy. Uncle Bones had the hots for Cuddy. Yeah, man, fucking House would always fuck that up. You remember that episode where the young girl, she was sick with a spore, but made her her inhibitions were gone, but she was stalking House, and anyway, Cuddy came out, and she was sitting on House's motorcycle when he came out, and Cuddy came out, and anyway, ran the girl off, and anyway, House, the girl had gotten House a little worked up, and he said, what did he say to Cuddy? He said to Cuddy, something about that look the girl gave him, got him aroused. I can't remember what words he actually said. Aroused. He said, Cuddy, I guess you're up. And she said, I'm ovulating. Let's go. He should have gone and knocked her up. She was wanting a baby. I don't know how to fuck. He always found a way to fuck it up. Assume the positions. Confidence. Granny says she went on to the good wife, Uncle Bones. Had to rush him to the hospital. Doctor said it might hurt pulling this can out. Doc helped me. My asshole sprouted wings. What in the hell is going on up in here? Brandy says, Michael, that's not the direction I thought you were going. Mr. Lee says, Lockbeard, you bad influence. I've been blocked from some channels because of you, dude. What? How? It's not my fault. Angel says, I would melt down here. There, we were low 70s a day, down to the 40s tonight. Man, I would love for it to get to the 40s. But there ain't no way that's happening. We'll be lucky to get maybe the 70s. We'll get in the 70s for sure overnight. Let's see about when. Let me check the weather. All right, it'll get down to 79 according to the prediction here by midnight. So I guess that'll do. Wake up, peeps, says Miss Lee. Jay says hotter than mofo in Florida today. I bet it is. Florida's hotter than Oklahoma typically. I think it was hell level 2 in El Paso today. I bet it is, Timmy. What is EIP? I don't know what he's talking about. El Paso. Oh. Did he not write it out or something? Yeah, he wrote it out. Brandy says, are we sure it doesn't say makeup? It says, you can't see it. It says wake up call. It was an album by a band called Petra, as a Christian rock band back when I was Christian. I've had this shirt for, well, since 94. So 28 years. Holy shit. Raptor says at 3PO, yeah, Lockbeard is a bad influence. I've been getting blocked on a lot of channels because of him since he was on Pat's channel back in the day. Y'all blaming that on me? Oh, man. Mr. You need to participate, says Michael. Batmom says, you wrote that pervert comment. Who did? Who wrote a pervert comment? Uncle Bond says, Mr. Lee, pay attention. Tammy Boy, Nikki, and I are neighbors. Add an H to both words. Mr. Lee says, Raptor Crazy Lockbeard is my second favorite channel. Lockbeard every day, dude. Mr. Lee trying to make me work. Uncle Bone says, Batmom, hope you get cooler weather soon. I hate to see you suffer. Get a damp rag on your neck. Mr. Lee says, so, Lockbeard, what are the different levels of Sasquatch communities in your opinion? Is there hope for the future? Different levels? All I know is there's people that are interested in truth, no matter if it's a truth they like or not. They don't, as long as it's the truth. And then there's people who want confirmation bias of the truth that they want it to be. So, it's kind of, two different types. I mean, there's people that are straight up hoaxing. That might be considered another group. Is it a cult? The Bigfoot community? I think some groups might be considered cults. Joe says, I noticed the operative word there was Lockbeard. Was? I'm not sure where and what comment. Huh. Striper. Yeah, they were a Christian rock band, weren't they? I don't think I listened to them, though. Mr. Lee says, all your fault, Lockbeard. All my fault. Raptor says, what is up with the eyeball thing? Is that somebody lurking? What y'all talking about? I'm not sure what they're just, I don't know, telling us they're watching, I guess. Ruthless says, what's up, Meat Sacks? Welcome to the chat, Ruthless. Brandy says, I don't know, Raptor. It just felt right. Joe says, Mr. Lee wrote the pervert comment. I only thought it. Ruthless, you Aussie man. You on about she has legs? Surprise, says Ruthless. Joe says, when you said when I was, yeah, when I was a Christian. Yeah, back in the day. I used to like this band called Petra. And Wake Up Call was like one of their songs, or I think it was the album name too. It's been so long. Ruthless says, Sup Bones, hope you well by now. Mr. Lee says, Lockbeard, who will expose the Sasquatch thing? You think the world should know? I think the world should know. I think the world should know. But, I think that for the most part, people will have the opinion that these people of the forest should not be bothered, that we should leave them alone. Hopefully it helps us with conservation of habitat, because then we'll have another reason to conserve habitat, leaving it untouched. We've torn up too much. We've destroyed too much already. So hopefully the discovery helps that, Mr. Lee. And who will expose them? I don't know. I'm very certain if I had adequate funding that if they're out there, I could bring back the evidence. But without any funding, it's just next to impossible. You got people out there looking and looking. Some people who have thousands of dollars to play with, and they're not bringing back shit. So Griffith says, Bojo on the outer over there, Mr. Lee. Donald says, Mr. Lee, you have the group that flex their muscle and make claims that they are the John Rambo of Bigfoot. Yeah. Fucking Volt. It's just funny how, Chris Cat coming here accusing somebody of being a pedo, and now Volt's sitting over there with her sitting next to him, calling everybody who he's in a fight with. He's calling everybody a pedo. It seems like this is their fallback. Anytime you want to shut someone up, if he was black, he'd probably pull a race card and use that instead. But he's not. So all he can do is just call people like the worst possible thing he can think of, and so he just calls them a pedo. Now, Volt, when y'all sent Chris Cat in here, because I think y'all did, to infiltrate, and she started making the accusation that I can't remember which one it was. You're telling me it was Darkwater. She said that about. We were thinking it was you, but either way, it didn't matter. She was making the accusation that somebody was a pedo, and I had no evidence or that this person had been convicted of such a crime. And so I immediately rejected that, because that's what a sensible person does. That's what someone who's fucking real does. If you don't just accept a claim about someone, especially something that fucked up, without knowing for a fact, without real evidence of it, you don't say that kind of shit unless it's real. And she did that, and I immediately rejected it. I don't like you fucks, but I'm not going to let someone make an unfounded claim that you're a pedo. And yet you sit over there, you despicable piece of shit, and they're calling basically everybody that you disagree with a pedo. I mean, there's a point where you are really entering into some problem there. That's just not right at all. Possible slander. I'm generally, okay with people just saying whatever they want, but there comes a point where you took some shit too fucking far. You can't just sit over there and call people pedos. You dipshit, you despicable fuck. You think you're such a badass fuck over there all the time, sitting there with Chris, like eating up whatever shit you say. I'm getting to where I don't want to, try not to be too much of an ass to you, but you're being a complete fucking dick over there. You can't just sit over there and label everyone a fucking pedo. Now, I think somebody said they reported your channel. I haven't. But it definitely deserves to be reported. For quite a few shit things that you've said, Volt. So, good luck with that bullshit. Man. Uncle Bone says, do unto others. Ruthless says, Jen, that Facebook Messenger is a clusterfuck now. No on my new device. The following. Scotty deleted his. Never had this issue before with it. Brandy's speaking the wrong language. Mr. Lee says, First Blood Wicked good, just saying. Jen says, try and install and reinstall Ruthless. I think not done, pretentious twat going along to get along. Yeah. Joe says, at this point in the game, actually, I personally just want to know about them without actually exposing them. Hard to do, since anything I find out, if I find out, I want to share with you all. Yeah. It'd be hard to walk that line, because, if you're sharing it, it's going to expose them. A lot of people feel like it'd be bad to expose them, but I don't know. I think it'd generally be good. I just have a general drive to just want to know the truth about things. And not 90, not 100% certain, on this and what exactly it is. I mean, I know I've got some level of certainty, but not 100%. Can't say 100%. I want to get there. What language is Brandy speaking up in here? Rizzo says Jen seems to be auto sign in when switching between accounts for me. I think I fixed it. Mr. Lee says, thank you, Joe, because I'm losing my patience a bit with the no evidence stuff. I want to find Sasquatch. Well, you're going to have a hard time finding any in Great Britain, Mr. Lee. Donald says, if they are out there, we need someone that will be in the woods 24/7, 365 to even have a chance at getting confirmation. Yeah. I mean, you got a lot of weekend warriors. You got a lot of people calling themselves researchers who one have no scientific degree or nothing near a scientific degree, and when you see what they're doing, they're basically going out there and just having a camping trip, which is fine, but it's just you find one after another. You find it hard to have faith in them, and you have like the guys who claim to be Bigfoot evidence analysts. They're evidence analysts, and then they let their buddy, their lady friend on the channel to lie about her stolen audio. Well, you guys are a channel that's supposed to be analyzing evidence, and you let someone come up here and lie about stealing evidence, and we all know that it happened. And we're supposed to trust you as a source of information and your so-called investigations of Bigfoot. That would be Beast TV, by the way. Lost my faith. I'm sure they don't give a fuck, but I don't care either. They compromised their ethics. End of story. Jen says, I don't know. Ruthless got rid of Facebook app. Wasn't working right on 2 devices. Ruthless. Yeah, two face pieces of shit on the internet, Lucky. Yeah. Team with the app, but it's shit. Many out there. Pat probably took off, Mr. Lee. Jen says, yeah, Ruthless have to get used to a regular site pain in the ass. Joe says, yeah, Mr. Lee, I want to find Rasta again and study him if allowed. Don't know if that can happen, though. Ruthless says, Reckon Bones. Mr. Lee says, Joe, I don't think that's going to ever happen, man. Well, who knows, man? It might. Ruthless says it's why I have one face. Don't like it, then too bad. Too fucking sad. Brandy says, Joe, you're able to go back to the exact spot you saw him and camp there? Question mark. Mr. Lee says, Retro Crazy, I bet he hasn't. Donald says, I heard a couple people reported his channel when he was cocking his handgun and making threats at the same time. Apparently that isn't a problem for YouTube. Yeah, I don't know how the hell his channel stays up. They take my channel down for saying something that they called medical misinformation. And this guy's over here making blatant violent threats to people, and they leave him alone. Joe says it might not, Mr. Lee. I have to find a way to come to grips with that. It's an awfully disappointing, though. Tim Boy says, I don't think YouTube believes him either. Many times now. Yeah, go back to the same spot. Ruthless says things really ramping up, Lockheed, especially subcontinent. What do you mean is the revolution beginning down there in Australia? Y'all's government needs a complete douching too. Donald says one of his shows, Mr. Lee. Ruthless says funny that first granite stone was in Hindi and Swahili. Do you think that has some significance, Ruthless? Brandy says, keep at it, Joe. As long as your heart's in it, never know. Must have missed it. Pakistan, Sri Lanka. I don't know what you talk about, Ruthless. Like, I mean, is there? So you're talking about the Indian subcontinent then? Are people fighting there? Joe says, Brandy, yeah, I'm planning another camping trip in August to that very place. Same week I first saw him in August 2020. Ruthless says, can't tell the moon bats though. They all know better. The moon bats. Well, what do you mean? Like, can't tell the moon bats what? Like, you're not, I'm not, like, I need a complete thought here from you. Ruthless says, yes, there seems to be something brewing down there, possible proxy stuff. So you think that they're going to try and start a war in that area? Same old game, though. Same old game. People just need to not bite. You know, a lot of people didn't bite on the Ukraine stuff, you know. I mean, obviously orchestrated. Like, we all knew it was going to happen sooner or later. It's probably been planned since the moment Ukraine became a thing. You know, we don't know how many years out they plan these things, and there's probably just a general plan for, you know, getting every nation involved in a war one way or another, so they can shift gears and do this one instead of that one. But they basically got a plan. Moonbat saying lightning did it to the stone. Are they trying to say there was some divine intervention there? I haven't seen that. The only thing I've seen is that someone used an IED of some kind. Imran Khan. Chessboard says, electricity. You mean electricity? Out for 1 hour. I knew I should have filled the generator. Moon Bats says, Jake, that's a new name here. Welcome. Ruthless says they got him out because he wasn't down with Ukraine. Mr. Lee says, Lockbeard, why are Mr. Pat and Joe having their shows on at the same time? Is there a fallout? No one will tell me. I still don't know really exactly what's up. If they're just landing that way because they both want the same time. Maybe they don't feel like, avoiding doing the same time. I mean, it's their business. But I definitely think it would be in the interest of both shows to not be on at the same time, because a lot of the same people want to watch both of them. But I mean, the reality is anyone that doesn't catch this one live is going to watch the other one on the replay, and vice versa. So they're still going to get the watch, but yeah. So Joe says, I don't know what that is all about, Mr. Lee. Well, Pat's never been really had a real like truly set a specific time for Friday night. Well, even for Tuesday night when he had the Tuesday night going, um, he was roughly in a certain zone, but it was never like specifically, like this here I do at 6 o'clock every Saturday. Specific times everybody just knows that cares to know, and but Pat never had that set time, so part of the issue would be that, I imagine. Michael says, didn't the former Japanese prime minister just get snuffed out? I don't know. Has that happened? Rutha says, Jake, you're a very naughty boy. Do you, Mr. Lee, stir in pot? Donald says, Pat's being a douche. Angel says, Mr. Lee, I thought Pat said he had to change his time due to his job. Could be that. I don't know. It just, if they can't find a, ultimately everybody's free to do what they want, really, though, Mr. Lee. So, if they run around at the same time, I just, they. To me, it's not really, it doesn't have to be about you want to help the other channel. Like it would help your channel if you're both competing for the same viewers, which again, it's not truly competing, because everyone's going to watch the replay of the one they didn't watch anyway. But still, you probably want to get people live, viewers live. So I think it would be independent because the two shows share a lot of the same viewers. So, but 5 o'clock may be too early for both of them, and 8 o'clock may be too late for both of them. Well, that's going to cause overlap no matter what you do. Maybe one at 6 and one at 8, but that means somebody's going until 10, and neither one of them may want to do that. And then, of course, if the show runs overtime, then that throws that monkey wrench in that whole thing anyway. Raptor says that 3PO, this has been going on for a couple months. I think there's 1 week where they didn't overlap. The homemade Heather, new name, welcome, says, yep, Shinzo Abe was assassinated the other day. Holy shit. Uncle Bone says, Michael, yes, the guy walked up behind him, blew him away with a homemade shot. What the hell? That's crazy. Joe's working. Homemade, huh? Heather says, nice channel, just found you while looking for Bigfoot stuff. I'm watching from London, UK. welcome to the channel, Heather. Thanks for coming. Mr. Lee's in the chat. He's also from over there. Y'all could be neighbors. Rutha says Lockbeard's brutally honest. Well, I try to be. Mr. Lee says Pat can be a douche sometimes, but his show is good. I've taken lots of good information from his channel, and I like him also. Yeah. Tim Boy says, Heather, this is a very tame episode. Stay tuned. Yeah. Rutha says, it's why I loves him so muchly. Uncle Bone says, Mr. Lee, you worship him, you knucklehead. Pervert. Shinzo, I guess he's ambassador? Rutha says, apparently Shinzo was saying to stop apologizing for Pearl Harbor. I don't know if that's true, though. Well, that happened a long fucking time ago. So, I mean, who the fuck that was responsible for that is still alive? And who the fuck that was directly affected by that was still alive? Very few people. And that's a whole nother ball of wax to get into, the conspiracy behind that. And Heather says, you had my fair share of YouTube high strangeness. Yeah, I had mine. There's some fucked up pseudo gangster shit going on down in the true crime corner here in England. Yeah. You guys may not have experienced until they open the floodgates of immigration, right? Because look, anytime you get differing cultures and you put them together in one spot, they fight. That's just human nature. They will fight. They will form into groups. You can call them gangs, but it's tribal behavior. Humans form into a social group. But if they were out in the wilderness somewhere, we would call it a tribe. But because they're in a city, we call them a gang. What you have is tribal groups forming. They take over territory, defend it for the resources. What resources they have, of course, in the city, it's drugs and prostitutes and all that crap. It's but because that's what they've got in the inner city, right? It's still normal human behavior, though. And so if you understand that and what you're dealing with, I mean, look, you've got to close the borders. You need to deport any illegal immigrants. Anyone that doesn't belong there, you need to kick them out. They will take over your country. They will destroy your cities first. And as your numbers fall, they will eventually take over your country. So you got to ask yourself, do you want to end English culture forever because they will destroy it? We see this happen in other places where one culture comes in and is able to completely take over. They destroy the monuments and everything of the culture that was there before. They destroy it. And that's what will happen to every European country unless everyone in Europe wakes the fuck up and kicks all the immigrants out. Like straight up. I don't care if they came illegally. You have to kick them out. If you want to maintain the variety of different European cultures that you have there, you must kick out all the immigrants or accept your fate. Your culture will die. Your churches will be burned. Your monuments will be destroyed. Your books will be burned. That's what they will do. And you know, you've already seen some of it. Now, over here in America, that's what the Europeans did to the peoples here, right? You know, they went in and destroyed sacred objects of the tribes they took over. Almost every single Native American over here now speaks, you know, English now. It's not their native language. They worship white man's God. They wear white man's clothes. They live in white man's house. Their cultures have been pretty much obliterated. Most of them died. That's what happens. And that's what will happen to Europe if European people do not wake the fuck up and just say, look, you know, I'm not afraid of people calling me whatever the ist they want to call me. I want to save this culture. Our culture deserves to live. These people can go back to the countries they came from. Their culture is alive and well. Then it doesn't need to spread across Europe and destroy all European cultures. But that's exactly what will happen if you guys do not act. So you got to stop listening to the far lefties. Well, you might call them something different over there. We call them far left over here. Or something to that effect. You know. Just stop with the cancel culture shit and the woke garbage. It's all nonsense anyway. And save your cultures. You have a right to save your cultures. You know, no one's going to be able to visit France in the future or Norway. You know, those cultures will be gone. The unique cultures will all be destroyed in Europe because your governments opened that floodgate and allowed a bunch of immigrants to come in who are breeding way faster than you are, and they will overtake you in the future. And at some point, they'll just start killing you. Well, they've already started, right? You've already started having the murders and the rapes and all that shit. It's happening exactly as any sensible person who's willing to accept the truth would be able to see and predict. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. Past leader of Japan, Japanese Prime Minister. You lot crack me up. Mr. Lee, how much you watch the news? Yeah, I don't watch it at all. Mr. Lee says, Lockbeard, are you drinking Red Bull? I bet. No, I'm not. Just water. Just water. Heather says, I'm American transplant. Been here 13 years. Tribalism or cult, says Mr. Lee. Yeah. I mean, arguably, like, that's a whole, like, talking about, you know, yeah, cults, cultures, same thing, really. And they're all necessary. For a culture to survive, you have to behave. Everyone has to work together to preserve the culture. It has to have built into the programming, the training from birth, that you preserve your culture, you destroy anything that threatens your culture, you expand your culture, or your culture dies. So cultures have to have that built into them. Cults have to have that built into them. Donald says Mr. Lee is leader of the Ginger Crisp. Awesome. Congratulations, Mr. Lee. Heather says you keep policy now to deport some people who don't qualify for asylum to Rwanda. You can't fix. They think they're saving people, but all you're doing is bringing the third world countries to the first world nation. People in a third world, look, this is called the demographic transition model. People in a third world culture, that culture, you have to leave them there and allow them to develop their culture. If their culture is meant to be first world, then they will transform to first world in their time when they are ready. You got to be patient. You can't just bring a bunch of third world people into a first world country and think everything's going to be just fine. It's not. You start creating third world neighborhoods in a first world country, and shit starts to break down. You also create conflicts. There's too many people. When you have too many people of all the individual groups, they start fighting each other. You can sprinkle a few in, a slow trickle, and they assimilate. But if you bring in thousands of people from one culture, what they do is they group together, and they get to where they stop trying to assimilate. It's got to be a small enough number that they can't really group together well enough that they can get away with not assimilating. We have a lot of Spanish speaking people here that basically refusing to learn English now because they don't have to. They got enough of their people, and it's you just can't open the floodgates and think everything's going to work out. It's best to leave people in third world countries and let them develop on their own. Stop trying to save everybody, because you can't, and you just harm your own country. Ruthless says plenty of room for everyone on this rock. I don't know, man. I think I agree with the Georgia Guidestones. We need to reduce our population to 500 million. Fuck this shit. There's too many people. So let's do it in a nice way, We'll send guys around knocking door to door. Have you considered not having babies? Or not having 12 babies at least? Mr. Lee says, Donald, you double douche nozzle. Damn, Mr. Lee, you're being harsh to old Donald tonight. Chessboard says, Lockbeard, how many folks know Jews were not allowed to own property in the 1500s in Venice, so they practiced usury? Now you know. Jen says, Heather, true crime on YouTube. Do you follow Michael Walks or Michael After Dark? She's from England. Michael says, not the double nozzle award. Mr. Lee says, I speak South London. You can speak that, Lockbeard. I don't know. I mean, imagine if you understand my English and I understand your English, we're good. But I don't know what you mean by South London, though. That's what you're saying. Heather says, nah, Jen, like Sean Atwood and that lot, literal ex-gangsters who have true crime channels. What the fuck? Michael says, I never even got that, Mr. Fuller. I'm jealous. Ruthless says, look at Australia. They could have come here and cohabited with Aborigines. They didn't because they wanted it all and crushed anything in their way. Yeah, they did. Mr. Lee, you just gotta... I don't know how else to explain that. Foot liver pudding. Heather says not breeding faster than Elon Musk. Well, the reality is every single Caucasian group on the planet, this is not a problem. All Caucasian populations are plummeting towards extinction. Our birth rates are so low that we will go extinct on our own. We're not the problem. We're not the overpopulation problem. The other groups are. That's just the goddamn fact. And I don't know. You can't make people follow our same path, though. their cultures may not adapt the same way ours have to having too many people. I think we have too many people, and somehow our culture is just adapted to breeding way less and accommodating the issue. But the other groups are not following that path, and what they're going to have is massive war, massive starvation. There's going to be so much human suffering. You have no idea. I think a lot of people, they think I don't think they have the vision to see the brick wall we're about to splatter on. Heather says says he's going to repopulate the earth. The man is 35% fish confirmed. Who? What the hell? Elon? Are you talking about Elon Musk? Mr. Hugh says Michael has the ginger gene. They found one ginger pube on his bum. Heather says I'm in London, pretty close to Tower Bridge. Raptor says I thought she said she was in London, UK. Rutha says I check news often. I'm interested in periphery. Croydon, Mr. Lee. It's the name of my channel, bus rides and shit. Love the Brits. Mr. Lee, nice one, mate. Nice one. We practically neighbors. Grasshopper says, was Sticks, Hexenhammer 66 and others on YouTube for news? Yeah, I showed a clip from Sticks, Hexenhammer the other day on one of my random lives about the Netherlands thing. Mr. Lee says, Heather, you don't sound London, just saying. Rutha says, bingo, leave others be. Seem to have a visitor landed on my arm. Hopefully you guys can see that. Oh, shit. Oh, now he's not lighting up. Get on out of here if you're not going to perform. Lightning bug. Joe says, just a question, Lockbeard. We here in America have embraced other cultures. We're made up of many cultures. How do you reconcile that? Well, I mean, that's just what we are. I think we accept that our cities are basically war zones in some cases. And it's been normalized for us. There's neighborhoods where you just don't walk at night. That shouldn't be, but one could argue we become one amalgamated culture, but all the cultures that have come here, like those people, their cultures have been kind of washed out, right? As far as the European ones, like Irish, yeah, you might drink some beer on St. Paddy's Day, but have you are you truly a part of the Irish culture? That be a no. Are you truly a part of any of the European cultures? No, so you might say we've become an American as a new culture that's got bits and pieces from all these cultures. But and some people might say that's a good thing. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll eventually in 1,000 years or so be a culture that's looked on as its own unique thing, but it will always have elements of all these other cultures. So I've said before, multiculturalism destroys multiple cultures. And if it spreads throughout the whole world, if the whole world does what we've done here, well, you will not be able to go to Japan and find, the uh, the un tainted, I don't know, unpolluted Japanese culture. When you go and visit another country, you want to be able to go there and see the authentic culture of those people there, and you won't be able to see that if the whole world does what America's done. Here, when I hate to go back to the Indians, but the Indians' cultures have been pretty much destroyed. They're trying desperately to hold on to this element and that element and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. But the reality is their cultures have been destroyed. Multiculturalism destroyed multiple cultures. Hundreds of tribes, a lot of different cultures were just annihilated here. Probably some that we'll never even know of because they didn't really leave any evidence. They were completely annihilated, and it's just they're just gone. So I don't know if there's any reconciling anything though. But we're going to lose America unless we change things. So if we consider American culture its own thing, it needs to push back against it. Really, we're being invaded from the southern border. They're just walking in, and no shots are necessary to be fired. They're having babies at a far greater rate than we are in America, in the United States. And they will eventually overtake and take over the entire United States. So we could have easily headed off what this will lead to. What this will lead to is war here in the United States. It will be war here in the United States. Because that's just what humans do. You got one culture trying to move on another. At some point, the English-speaking people here are going to feel the pressure to enough of an extent that they just start fighting. And the Spanish speakers will fight back, and this place will be like the goddamn Middle East. So we're going to lose this country. And they'll turn it if anyone's, if you've only been in the touristy areas of Mexico, you're looking at the wrong parts. You need to go to the parts where the real Mexico is, which is just squalor and crime. They're beheading people out there. There's some cannibalism apparently going on down there. Cartels are running the show in a lot of areas. The government's corrupt as fuck. The people, I heard about one guy who went across the border and they found one single round bullet in his floorboard, and he got thrown in jail for like a year or some shit like that. It was ridiculous. And they'll turn America into that nonsense. It's already starting to happen. Some of the neighborhoods they're turning into Mexico, and hey, Mexico can be the way Mexico is, but I don't want to see America turn into that. We got enough crime as it is, and there is a lot of crime coming. There's some good people coming. I know there's a lot of people just looking to better their lives. But man, we got our own problems. And we also need to think about, do we want to preserve our nation in the form that it is, or do we want to let it turn into a third world country? Because that is what will happen. And we could have headed it off just by locking down the border and saying, look, we just can't have people coming in here willy-nilly. We have a right to defend our border. Mexico defends its borders. Why can't we? You know, so that's a whole. I mean, that's a whole another ball of wax too. Heather says, yeah, I still watch Sticks from time to time. She's from the U.S. Says Donald. Heather says, although parts of America, the whole idea is not assimilating. There are still plenty of Amish. For example, you can literally go buy a plot of land somewhere in the middle of nowhere and do as you please. Yep. Grasshopper says, I watch Sticks and others on YouTube for news. How do you sound like something when you're typing, or does Monkey need an extra banana? How do you sound like something when you're typing? I don't even know what you're saying there. Michael says, Heather, do you have Bombay mix over there? Chessboard says, Lockbeard, read, Netherlands want to pass law if your home houses more than used, you will have to take in immigrants. Oh, if you have empty bedroom, yeah, they want to force you to, yeah. See, that kind of shit right there. No, look, people in the Netherlands, you need to put a stop. Your government has lost its goddamn mind, and it needs to be completely dismantled, I guess. Every member of the government needs to be arrested immediately. It's fucking over. I'm sorry, it's over. You guys need to take action. Your farmers are out there trying to you got to go help them. Don't do like over here with the truckers. You know, most people took no notice. You know, in Canada, same thing. You know, you need to get out of your houses. Stop letting the news and the government tell you to fight each other, and start thinking. You know, start thinking. You're not seeing clearly. Some of you have been brainwashed to think all this far left psycho shit, and you don't even realize it's psycho. You think it's right, but it's not. World is full of stupid. You're no English. Heather says, yeah, I agree with the pop being too high. Elon Musk just went on about how he is repopulating the earth. Fucker is a quiver movement. What in the hell? I don't know what a quiver movement is, but USA transplant. Yeah. Rutha says this rock can hold way more. Overpopulation isn't an issue. Ruthless. You're thinking very, very, very ethnocentrically there. Humans are meant to be within a certain ecosystem in a very small place, but one day we got too smart for our own good, and we spread into every ecosystem on the planet, and it just destroyed things everywhere we go. Like, humans don't actually belong in America at all, or Australia at all, or Asia or Europe. Our origins are in Africa, and only in certain ecosystems. And we got smart enough that we were able to spread everywhere. So not only are we overpopulated from what we are supposed to be naturally, we are magnificently overpopulated, stupidly crazy overpopulated, to where we spilled out into everything. So the earth isn't here just to serve us. There are billions of other species that belong here too, and we're destroying everything we go. Everything everywhere we go. We need to tread more lightly everywhere. And I'm sorry, man, but we are extremely overpopulated, and we need to just naturally start to reduce our number. And like I said, people the populations that are primarily Caucasian in America, all the European countries, Australia, they're naturally reducing their population very quickly. It's just happening. Like there's not a plan. We just are. We're just doing it. Like by not having too many kids, but by having way less than is necessary to replenish the next generation. But unfortunately, because other population groups, others are not following that same pattern, they just keep breeding as fast as they can. They will start to move into the areas that we stop occupying and eventually take over the entire planet. Those groups are almost all exclusively third world peoples. It's going to be a third world Earth as a result of all this. Third world or Earth. So all first world countries need to immediately, if your government isn't on board with this, one, arrest everyone in your government by any means necessary. Throw piles of humans on the, if they send tanks after you, you need to pile up on the tanks, 1,000 humans on the tank to stop it, whatever it takes, because if you do not, you're going to all end up dead or slaves. That's what's going to happen, and your country is going to be destroyed and turned into a third world country. So you've got to get your government under control, and then you need to lock down your borders and remove all of these immigrants that they've moved in on your country to destroy it, to turn it into a third world. They want to destabilize things. You need to kick these people out. You may not like it, it may sound heartless and cruel, but you need to do it, or your country will fall. It will turn into a third world hellhole, and humanity will have to start all over again, building up into a great technologically advanced civilization, because this one is about to collapse. The only way to stop it is to isolate the fuck out of first world countries. Do not let third world peoples into first world countries. Leave them to develop into first world countries on their own, unless you don't think they can do it. If you don't think they can do it, well, that just, you think what you want. I want to preserve our countries. I want to preserve our civilization, and open immigration is going to destroy all of them. And those fucks running the government know. They know that's what's going to happen. Heather says, Michael Haywood, oh yes, I'm from a pretty diverse bit of London. Apples and pears. Courtney. Cajun American, moved here in 2009. Vietnam term coined for not do nice Americans. What? What in the hell are you saying? Heather says some birth rates are stagnating, but China has undone its one-child policy. Yeah, they're not going to need it pretty soon. If they start moving in on the North America, they're not even going to be caring about that one-child policy anymore. They'll just plan on taking us over. Sounds like Heather is in the military. Heather says, Ruthless, yes, my mates call me septic as a joke. I'm aware of the other version of Sherman tank, although I am deep Southern, so not a Yank. I want to go to Kentucky, do you? Time. Tower Bridge, Quarton, not neighbors. Lunch is impending. Come on, you shall. Got a pretty mouth. What in the hell? Not military, did media shit, viral media for film, and then did advertising for a major pub chain before the pandemic. Thanks for the welcome, Yeller. Nice. Yeah, you're welcome. Your girlfriend's Irish, Mr. Lee. Keep us informed. Heather says, Mr. Lee, yes, I know, but still Southside can hop the trail, London Bridge, Cross Gate. Pretty good time. Those who ignore the past are condemned to repeat it, says Ruthless. Yeah. Troy Brex is here. Welcome. Now myself, laughing my ass off. Ruthless says, I love it when people believe they can manifest Christ. The collectivism is the issue. Communists are winning. America is going down the tubes. Back in the day, twist and shout. People don't get potential. Over-actualized, says Ruthless. This release says, Heather, I'm surprised sometimes. I apologize. Suspicious sometimes. I apologize. See you later, Ruthless. Heather says, I think U.S. is breaking up in the region. Southwest is about to be royally screwed with no electricity or water when the Hoover Dam goes Deadpool. Yeah. Yeah. We would be a lot better off if we weren't bringing in all the new population, but yeah. You're welcome, Ruthless. Donald says, Mr. Lee, you thinking an infiltrator? Mr. Lee says, pot noodle, I bet. YouTube high strangeness is totally a thing. Joe says, I think we fought that war once, Lockbeard. I think it was called the Mexican-American War. I think a guy named Teddy Roosevelt was in it, did something near a hill called San Juan. Yeah. This time, it might go differently. Might go a little differently. Wait till they cannot afford to buy food. Yeah, man. Seriously. They're trying like hell to make it that way. Dark journalist also. Teddy in Cuba. Corton. Thanks, guys. Old brain doesn't remember everything correctly sometimes. Heather says, Mr. Lee, unfortunately not much positive. Got trams, some ugly ass pink building near South Croydon Station, that weird box park thing, kind of sad shopping street. Good because can get a burger. The Alamo, yeah. Yeah, it's going to happen. Only this time it's going to be a whole different clusterfuck. Heather says on the way to places that aren't Croydon, such as Brighton. Yep. Just saying. Don't vote Democrat. We won't lose the country. Well, I would amend that. Don't vote Democrat or Republican. Don't vote either one of them. We need to demand like a big, loud voice. If we're going to keep trying to do the election thing, which I think it's already broken to the point and cheated to the point and controlled, that it's pointless. But if you all really want to try and get some choice, we need to demand that there's a none of the above, a no confidence in any of the candidates that are being offered, and so we can try and force the parties to pick decent candidates instead of just giving us, a steaming turd on the left and a steaming turd on the right. They just give us two steaming turds. Pick one. Pick a steaming turd. Well, I don't want a steaming turd. I want a slightly less steaming turd, damn it. The Republicans and the Democrats are the same. They're the same. They're part of the same team. They act like they're two. They are not. They are the same. They work for the rich and the powerful. That's it. They're not. There's not two parties. The sooner Americans figure that out, and in large enough numbers, the better off we'll be. Mexican-American War, Andrew Jackson before the Civil War. Heather says, yeah, well, besides Achaeos and passing through on a train doing shopping center once, my running ground is more Deptford, New Cross, Surrey, Quads, the Monsey. Joe says, yeah, I knew it was before the Civil War. Andrew Jackson, yeah. Chessboard says, Raptor crazy. Politicians are one and the same. Just a D and R, same peas in a pod. Exactly. You is lying. Grasshopper says, Heather, fill out a life story and send it to Lee so he can Google trace your every move for validation. Excuse Mr. Lee. Timmy Boy has excused you, Mr. Lee. Spanish-American War. Not knowing. Been down that rabbit hole. It was an internet conspiracy like a year ago. Some assholes thought I sounded like someone else and doxed me and shit, so I put it all out. Tim Boy says, sorry, Mr. Lee, but my wife is named Heather, so it doesn't feel right to disagree. It's a marriage thing. Heather says, like so people can see where I live. Radically affordable housing co-op that is well known, and my cat and my friends. Lady Fake. Roosevelt was Assistant Secretary of the Navy, resigned to fight. State your case. Could be a troll, who knows, says Raptor. Mr. Lee says, Timbo, everything Heather told me about my hometown can be Googled. She cannot tell me specific facts. Okay, that's crazy, Donald. D-Boy says, is it me or has this live turned into a sausage fest? Well, I mean, no, he's got Sandra and Troy and Heather and Mr. Lee, I think, might be a girl. And for the purposes of living in the United States, I'm a libertarian, but I'm a monarchist. Under the right circumstances, I'm a monarchist. But that's a hard sell for people in America, for sure. Obviously the Eternus Empire thing is a monarchy, and it is so for a reason, because monarchy is a government form that makes the most sense for the human animal. Whether most humans can understand that or not does not matter. Could eat a sausage, could you, Mr. Lee? I knew you were a girl. Troy says a lot of Repubs are the very same as Dems as a whole. Yeah, Trump was a Dem. Now all of a sudden he's a Republican. What? Nah. Timboy says, sorry, Sandra didn't know you were still here, but it is true. Troy says the AZ GOP org is the very same as the left. It is a lot of times controlled opposition. Yes. Grasshopper says term limits to limit the president to 3 terms, but they can be there for life in Congress. Yeah. Western New York Bigfoot says, I don't trust politicians of any stripe, and I like George Carlin. I don't vote. It's pointless. Yeah. But I would have voted for George Carlin. If George Carlin would have ran for president, fuck yeah, I would have voted for George Carlin. Mr. Lee says, I was brought up to be Catholic. What religion were you brought up to be? LOCKBEARD? Baptist. Donald says, Brandy's doing a live. Yeah, I was thinking about shutting her down here anyway, because I am getting tired, so people can head over there if they like. And Sanders says, Timboy, you made me laugh about marriage thing. Donald says the same as her name, Raptor, the Brandy Chandel. Jen says, I'm here just letting the phone charge. Brandy says, what the fuck, Donald? I literally just made my mind up. How do you know? It's creepy. Mr. Lee says, I wouldn't mind being a girl, just saying. Tim Boy says, you say that because you think you would still think like a man, Mr. Lee. Yeah, so we went way off on some crazy tangents. And it's well past time for us to shut her down here. But it sounds like Brandy's going to go live, so a lot of y'all to head on over there. Chessboard says, thanks, Lockbeard. You're welcome, Chessboard. Donald says he's a mind reader. Mr. Lee says, Team Boy, I'm just trying to stir it up. Can't help myself. Joe says, yeah, it's been fun and interesting. Thanks for having my back, Lockbeard, and everyone for your kind words. See you all soon, I hope. You're welcome, Joe. Thanks for hanging out. Team Boy says, most times.
Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because subscribing makes you feel good.
All right. I'll see y'all next time.